Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Happy to have you. Maybe first thing to do, can you confirm that you hear us very well? We'll start in 1 minute. Perfect. Thank you for the comments. So happy to have you to our webinar. We'll have this webinar with Corentin and Hubert about how you can concretely use artificial intelligence in digital marketing. Of course, we talk a lot about artificial intelligence during those weeks and months, but it's always interesting to really analyze how we can concretely use it. And so that's the purpose of our webinar. You will, of course, have some time later in the webinar, especially at the end, to ask questions, but don't hesitate during the webinar to already give your comments or questions so that we can take this into account to refine the information we give you. So, oh yeah, I didn't present exactly Corentin and Hubert. So Hubert is co-founder of Universem and Corentin is our head of SEO, and I myself, Sébastien, co-founder as well of Universem. So let's start the presentation. Before we really start the presentation, we would like to just remind you who we are at Universem. Universem, we are a digital marketing agency based in Belgium with 30 people, more or less. We develop and implement digital marketing strategies for our clients. And what's important for us is to grow the business of our clients, of course, but also to the brand and the people. We see more and more that it's really important that we help our customers to grow themselves. And so that's also one of our missions. The main pillars we are working on is, of course, the SEO and content marketing. Second one is online advertising, and then analytics. So that's the three main pillars we are developing, of course, with the global strategy of our customers, which take all those elements into account. We work for many customers, more or less between 60 and 70 customers. As you can see, they are in very diversified fields, I would say, e-commerce, lead generation, drive to store, also some NGO like Médecins du Monde, WWF, and some public institutions. We, for instance, work for MediaMarkt, Orange, Leonidas, among many others, as you can see. Before we really go into details about how you can use artificial intelligence in digital marketing, we wanted to give a short context about artificial intelligence. And the first thing which is important to say is, of course, that artificial intelligence is really not new. It's something which exists for years, actually. It has already been used in many fields, such as voice recognition, translation, for some recommendation engines, for chatbots, for GPS tools, and many, many others. What changed quite recently is that 8 months ago, actually, ChatGPT was released, as you know, and that really popularized even more artificial intelligence. And since then, it's really impressive how many people are really using it for many applications. And in particular, you can see with this slide how fast it has been. Like you see, for instance, that Netflix or Airbnb took 2.5 years or 3.5 years to reach 1 million users, while ChatGPT, it was only 5 days. So it's really impressive, even though the other companies on this slide, it was already fast, but ChatGPT was just amazingly fast, I would say. So that's one thing. And another way to present it is also that Joe Biden invited a few weeks ago all the big CEO of the big giant tech companies, I would say, and were invited at the White House to really discuss about this topic, because it's really something which is going to have a big impact on lives, actually, and of course on many companies as well. So that's really a topic very important for the future of the society, I would say, and that's important to first know that and see how fast and how impactful it is. Now that, and last thing before we really start into digital marketing applications of artificial intelligence is that AI is actually just a tool, and as any tool, a fool with a tool is still a fool. We really like that. We really like that quote, because it's really important to always take into account first what are your marketing objectives actually, and start from there, and then check how the tool can be used, because it's just a tool, even though it's a very powerful tool. That's the way you should work. First, go take into account your goal, and then analyze how this tool can help you. So for the next part of the presentation, I will give the word to Corentin.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to see you there. So I always love to start with definition, because it really helps to have a common understanding about the subject. I won't give you the full explanation here. What I really love to say and to explain with large language models, so ChatGPT and GPT-4 are large language models, is that they are actually built partially on Google technology, because when you read the definition and you see transformer architectures, it's what's actually developed by Google at the beginning. So it's really a neuronal network, and it's really the core of the AI tech. And what is also really important is to keep in mind that it was trained on a lot of data, actually a big part of the web, a lot of books, a lot of PDF and so on. And finally, it's also fine-tuned. And that's something really important in the process, because people think that the more text, the more information you give to the model, the best it will be. But actually, if you don't fine-tune it, it won't be the best. And the strength of GPT-4 is actually the fine-tuning at the moment. So just a funny example. I don't know if you use it like me, but it's a good way to understand how it works. He made me an analogy with a parrot, and it's actually a really good analogy, where a parrot is actually hearing a lot of stuff we say to it, and he start to learn from that. And it's not at the end just able to repeat what we say, but to combine what he learned to actually repeat new things that are just a combination. But what I also like at the end is the last sentence, where it say that it's just like a parrot. He does not know what he say. He is repeating and combining. And that's something, like Sébastien said before, it's important really to keep in mind. I also wanted to add a notion here, because sometimes people mess a bit the what is ChatGPT and so on. Actually, ChatGPT is just the chat interface of GPT 3.5 and GPT-4. Like Bard is actually the interface of Palm 2. That is one of the large language models developed by Google. There are other ones, we're going to see it, but obviously they are the two that are the most known. I also wanted to really, before deep diving into cases and example, insist on the limitations, because we see a lot of things on LinkedIn and on the web at the moment, but I think people tend to forget there are a lot of limitations. Hallucination is one of them. You can see an example on the right, where I asked to GPT to summarize a page of our website, and he did a good job. Actually, he summarized what is Panda. It's actually a SEO algorithm, but we never had this page. This page never exists actually. So he hallucinates, because he see the logical links between what I asked and our website, and he did something. It was before the web browsing was released, but I think it's a good example. And what is really complex and dangerous is the fact that the hallucinations are not stupid. They are really logical. You could trust it, and so that's really something you need to be aware. He also loves to lies. We will see it, but he loves to lies. The limitation of the data set are also important, because you don't have data after 2021. It might change in the future, but it's important to keep that in mind. The web browsing, I mentioned it. You might see that today it's not working, by the way, but there are a lot of limitations, and he is not able to crawl and to analyze some pages. So don't trust it too much, because you don't know what he was able to read on the page actually. And finally, one I love to add is also the size, because there is a size, for example, for GPT-3 of 4,000 tokens, let's say words. I'm not going to go into details, but if you already ask it something of 24 words, you will only have 24 words after that. Yes, now you can continue with the paid version, but it's still a limitation, because you can just give it a book and ask him, make me a summary of the book. And yeah, finally, the privacy, you know it. We had multiple cases like Samsung. You don't want to give it your password or your API case or sensible data. So it's important to be careful with that. It was just an example when I was mentioning lies. I asked him to make me 5 quotation about importance of ads for SEO. And he did it, but when I was checking for the citation online, they weren't existing anywhere, none of them. And when I asked him if they were fabricated, he told me that no, he provided me a citation that were existing. So that's a fun example, but that shows that you really need to be careful with that. And that's really one of the main key, I think, for generative AI, is that it's the same for data, but actually, if you have a bad prompt, you have bad answers. And even the best prompt will still have limitation because of the data. Yes, OpenAI took a big part of the web to train the model, but if you are working in a really B2B field, I think sometimes he might not know what you do exactly and how you are doing it. Also, just for information, I added a few links. You will have the recording. There are really great tutorials about generative AI and prompt. If you want to check it, it's really interesting. So now I will let the floor, the words, to Hubert. He will give you an example of a case from Hey Telecom on how he used AI and ChatGPT.
Yes, thanks, Corentin, already for those elements. So if we start directly, okay, Hey Telecom is the young brand or the digital native brand of Orange. So the young people who are just communicating not by phone, but by messages, and so using only or most of the time only data. So they launched it in 2 years ago, and one of their communication was always targeted to young people. So from 15 to 25 years old, the people who are really in this category, and they were communicating on that. And one of the questions that they had a few weeks ago, and that we were discussing with the marketing manager, Elise Demierbe, with them, was, okay, should we target parents? That was one of the questions. And I said, okay, Elise, that's nice. Let's use this question to see if we can use it for a nice AI case. And from that, I said, let's use ChatGPT, Midjourney, and others to see if we can create a campaign for this new target for Hey Telecom. And I started with an initial prompt, some good ideas of Corentin, but like, okay, okay, I'm a research analyst. What are the tasks I would like to have? What are ask the sources. Also, with the latest version of ChatGPT, you can have web browsing, so that we can have more information on and give more data for an initial analysis of the market and should we target the parents or not. 2 or 3 weeks ago, OpenAI published a ChatGPT best practices to do prompts, very insightful as well, resources. And based on that, I could receive some information. What I liked also was the web browsing, where you can see exactly what ChatGPT is doing. First of all, they went on the website of Hey Telecom, were reading the content, doing some queries on visiting some website of Statista, etc., Wikipedia as well. So we can see a bit how it's reasoning with this to have all sources thanks to web browsing. And after that, I received some information about, okay, what are the different plans of Hey Telecom, some information about data about Belgium, etc. To be fair, it was average results. It was not really insightful for me because the data about the telecom market is quite closed. They are confidential. Not many things are available on the web. But still, I had one source of information that was interesting from the US, where they see that, they did a study in the US, and around 1/3 to 50% of the young adults are their mobile phone subscription is paid by their parents. And if we look at all the tech expenses for young adults, the parents are paying 30% of the time. So thinking about that, it's clear that we should target the parents in the campaign for A-Telecom, because you are missing maybe 1/3 of your potential audience for A-Telecom. And so we were discussing it with Elise, and I said, okay, let's start by adapting and creating the right content for the parents. Like, okay, this picture of Midjourney, but the website was fully targeted for young adults. So now let's adapt it to also include the parents in this decision process to switch or to have a new mobile phone subscription with A-Telecom. And for that, I went on ChatGPT, did a prompt to be a creative copywriter, to ask many things, but also, for example, to use the informal form of you, not in French vous or tu. It's the tu because it's the full website is written with that. So these are elements that you need to have in your prompt to have good results. And based on that, I could have already some headlines. They are interesting to have inspiration and to mix all those ideas for the headlines, for the some sub-headlines, etc., to be able to create your landing page. Based on that, I could create the landing page with a good copy, a nice picture from Midjourney, some copy, and after use, as you see on the right, the part of the website that is already used to add and to be able to have to become a customer in a few seconds. So thanks to ChatGPT and these elements, I could create the landing page in 2 hours, which is much faster than what you can have. And also it gives the idea was to do a test and to say, okay, what can we do with a test so that if it's working well, then we'll work with the creative agency to create a new landing page, maybe adapt the full copy of the website to have an angle for the young adults, but also for the parents who could take a subscription for their children. Once you have this, you say, okay, if you want to push and the campaigns are managed internally, the social media campaigns are managed internally by A-Telecom. And so let's say, okay, we need to have an updated campaign material to communicate for parents and not only for children. And for that, I use a tool called the Microsoft Designer, released 2 or 3 months ago from Microsoft, where you can create material easily, but also use AI to have ideas of copy, ideas of design, and that's what I did here to create new copy and new banners in a few minutes. Of course, it's maybe not the best banner ever, but for a test, you can already learn and develop thanks to those creatives. And that's really interesting to have those insights and to be able to do it in a few minutes. What I like to say is that thanks to those tools, we can be more efficient, so faster to do it, but also more creative. Myself, I'm not a designer, so thanks to those tools, I'm able to create this campaign in a few hours. When I was discussing and over the past years, so many times you say, okay, I would like to launch a campaign but I don't have the resource, or it will cost too much for the creative agency, for the banner creation, or for the content. It's too heavy process within the customers, but now it's available and much faster to do. And what we see here is that only the beginning. Around 1 month ago, Google published at the Google Marketing Live event this new video, but also where they are going with AI to really multiply your marketing efforts thanks to AI. Also, Meta with Facebook, Instagram, and the others is using heavily AI to make it available for any marketer to use it in their tools. So that's really interesting to have this because they want you to be in their tool to edit a video, create a video from scratch, remove the background, add a new background, add a voiceover in any language that you can imagine. and that's within the tool so that you can spend more on the platform or to have more impact based on your marketing objectives. So that's really insightful, and you can find easily the video on YouTube. And it was a first case, practical case, mixing content, advertising, but we can go much further. And Corentin, who is doing a lot of innovation and deeply involved in this within the agency, will give you more information on 3 other cases.
Yeah. Before deep diving into the cases, I also wanted to explain a bit how we use it at Universem. If you don't know it, there is 2 ways really to use it. To use OpenAI at the moment, there is the ChatGPT version, but also the API. Both are advantages. One thing with the API is that it's scalable. Because you can already create some code with Python and automatize the process. So doing 500 pages is really easy as long as you have a really structured way to work, and that's something great. There is also more size for the GPT 3.5. It's 60,000 tokens and 32,000 in GPT-4, and it starts to be a lot. So you can really have a longer prompt with context, with information, to have better results. So that's really something interesting. I won't go into all details, but with the API for us is really the way to go. And also, I think it's important to insist on the fact that we are not just using GPT. For example, the main process is to get the data, because there is a lot of data on the web, on databases that are free to use. For example, you can really get this data and inject it into the prompt, and that's really a big part. And it does not work necessarily with GPT. There are Python's libraries like Scrappy, Selenium that you can really use to get the data from a lot of pages and transform it to use it in your prompt. Obviously, you still need to clean the data because websites are not always well structured and easy to analyze. That's the big part of the process, but that's really important. And after that, you can start the prompting. And I think it's important to insist on the prompting because I'm not a prompt engineer. I hate this term. I wanted to say it today, but really, there is no perfect prompt. That's really what I want to say. There is, you can't have a perfect result. Most of the time, it's just one prompt. So we already use it with a library like LangChain, where you have multiple prompts that are combined together and can really help to have the best result. So we have a first one to generate, a second one to optimize, a third one to do another task, and so on. And that's really the process that helps to have something that works. And finally, yeah, we have the output. And I wanted also to insist today on the output to be really transparent, because I think a lot of people are selling generative AI like it's going to be the best thing and you can just publish the content and don't read it. No, you still have to read it and to proofread it. It helps to gain time, to be more productive, but it's far from perfect, even with the best prompts and even with the best chain prompt you can have. So just wanted to also show a first case that's based to a case that was presented in another conference. And it's really interesting. That's getting information from the top ranking pages. So let's say you want to rank around a question. We will be able to extract the content from 5 or 10 or 20 pages, depending on what you want to have, and really extract the content of all these pages. All these parts are working without OpenAI, but it's important. We can do some NLP analysis, so natural language processing, to extract the keywords, to extract the most important sentences, to extract the entities. If you don't know, entities are an important part of SEO. For example, Universem is an organization. It's an entity. I'm, as an employee, I am an entity myself. I'm Corentin, and I'm linked to Universem because I work at Universem. And it's a bit the way Google is seeing the world, with relationships between elements. So extracting that really helps to analyze the text. And because you are extracting the text from the best pages, you are actually extracting already optimized content. And that's just the first part, because after that, you also want to extract information from the final website, the client website. Actually, you can extract data from pages, from PDF, everything to get actually a ton of voice information and persona information. With that, you can really combine with a really long instruction to actually create content. And when I was saying that there is a chain prompt, actually the first prompt is to generate the content. After that, we optimize it for a ton of voice. After that, for persona, and finally for SEO. So you can really see there is multiple steps in the process, and there is actually nice results. And the positive point is obviously that it's already optimized for SEO, because we get information from the top ranking page. It's possible to use it to improve already existing page. It works for products, for categories, pages, for blog. And the fact that we are injecting the data helps to avoid partially the hallucination. Because if you're just asking GPT, for example, to write a content about a really B2B thing, he might hallucinate. But if you really force him to just use a specific set of data you injected, he will avoid a big part of hallucination. Obviously, there is still some perfectible points, like there is still hallucination sometimes, so human verification is still critical. It's not always relevant, let's be honest. Sometimes he will compare different actors of the sector. If you are writing a page about how to choose a 300 euro smartphone, you don't necessarily want, if you are, for example, Samsung, you don't want to talk about, let's say, Apple. They don't have 300 euros smartphone, but yeah. And it's still not great if you don't have a lot of content on the SERP or on the final website. That was just a very advanced example, but there are some more simple examples. This one is, I think, also very interesting, especially in the context where everybody knows that content is still important for SEO. Even content that you don't always want to read. Sadly, it's still a truth with SEO, where you still have to add the content at the bottom of some pages, or even if Google say it's full for the user, sometimes we see that it's not fully the case. And in this case, a real copywriter has not a full added value, actually. And we did a test with App, for example. They have pages where there is a description, and they have to write it manually. But what they also have is a lot. Sorry, I go back on the page. But you can see on the page that a lot of structure information, like the size of the room, the number of room, if there is I don't know, a pool or things like that. And it's quite easy actually to get all this data, to scrape all the information. And what we did is really to automatize the detection of the content, to extract that and to put that into a sheet where we can combine the information with a prompt to be able with the API to automatize the creation of the content. And what is really strong is that you can do some kind of spinning where you can say, okay, if it's this page, you need to add one link to that, one link to that, one link to that. And if you know a bit about SEO, you can see the potential of that, because let's say you have a lot of products, you can do some spinning with saying all the product linked to this category need to link to the main category page. And with that way, you can automatize the internal links creation. And let's be honest, for SEO, it's a great thing.
And when you have 3,000 product or to do, the effect, the scalability that you can have with this content creation is just amazing. And if you are a copywriter to write this type of content, it's not really a high added value. So you can have a good effect for SEO, automate your content creation. Thanks to this automation, that's also benefits for the user and for Ardenta here.
Totally. Just you have the example here, and if you take the time later to read it, you will see that it's far from perfect. Actually, the prompt was, in this case, just one prompt, so it should have been improved, but as it was just the case, I wanted to show you, and also I think it's important that you can see the limitation of the tool. And a last case that I think it's also really interesting for companies is to analyze the reviews, because you probably know it better than me that reviews can be a nightmare for companies, especially independent websites like Trustpilot and so on. But there are also gems in the content provided by users, and with again, with scrapping, you can really extract all the reviews on Trustpilot, for example, and ask OpenAI to make a summary of the review, and also tell you if the sentiment of the review is positive or negative. And in this case, it was for analyze the issue, and we asked him to summarize also in one word what was the issue. And let's say you have thousands of reviews. Nobody has the time to read all the review and say, okay, maybe there is an issue here and so on and so on. With that, you can really extract hundreds of thousands of reviews and quickly analyze what is the main issue. Is it because of the billing? Is it because of the customer service? Is it because of the payments? Anything like that. There are also other ways you can really do that, because you can also inject your own FAQ in the prompt and ask, for example, GPT to check if the issue is already mentioned in the FAQ. If it's the case, you don't do anything. If it's not in the FAQ, you write another FAQ with the data. It still needs to be fine-tuned a bit, but it can really help you to improve your FAQ and more with the review to have a better website. And also, if you have really positive review, that's something you can use. Let's say you are selling products, you can extract all the really positive review and use it to write the content of your page. That's a really positive content that you can use for SEO and for page optimization. And just to conclude on my part about that, I think it's important to see the future. We don't know how it's going to be, clearly. But I think on my side that the core will come from the data. Actually, when you use ChatGPT, you use data that are public. But I think in the future, we will be able to use internal data with private environments, because the data won't be sent on internet and so on. So all the companies will be able to use their own data, combine it with public data to propose really unique content, unique experience to the user, and to really improve the way they are working on the internet. So now I'm gonna give the word to Sébastien for a small conclusion about.
Thank you, Corentin. Indeed, we would like to conclude this presentation, this webinar, by actually two quotes. The first one is this one: AI will not replace you or your company, but someone supported by AI will. And that's really something important. We often hear at the moment that people are wondering if their job is going to be replaced, or even if their company or the activity of their company would be replaced by something else. Actually, if everyone is taking this tool, those tools actually, into account to really improve the way they work, it's really something which will help them a lot in the future, and that's really the way to go. And the second quote we would like to show, it's about the fact that in life nothing is to be feared, but everything is to be understood. And that's really also another way to present it. It's really something which maybe would create some fear, but actually what's really important is just to understand it and to see how you can use it to really see how you can improve your marketing, or in general the way you work in your company actually. So thank you for this presentation. We would like to answer some questions if you have any, so don't hesitate. I'm going to switch like this. Is there any question? Let me check on my side. Actually, one question we could answer already is, and I'm going to ask it and then give you the word to you, Corentin and Hubert. If you would be an e-commerce, where would you start, or where would you advise one of our customers to start?
That's a lot of questions or elements that we could add. We covered some of the elements in the presentation, but for me, start from your goals. What is your audience? What are your main products? what are the products that are really important that you would like to push thanks to a better SEO or thanks to a better campaigning. And based on that, you will see, okay, what can we do to improve and use AI to support your marketing objective. That's really what is making the difference. And I'm sure that, Corentin, you have other elements that you could add, but that's for sure a good one.
I think it will depend on the number of pages first. If you have a really big e-commerce, a big issue with that is that most of, let's say, half of the page are most of the time not indexed because you have too much product and it's complicated to index everything. So improving the content of the page with AI, I think will help to have more indexation, because most of the e-commerces, they have structured data about their product, and they could really use their own database to create content in an automatic way to really improve that. And also, like I said, I think the reviews, they are something not used enough. Extracting your own reviews for your own product to generate content from that is really a way to go. And in a more sneaky way, I would say what I will do is maybe to analyze the content of my competitors to see if there are points on their products, and maybe to orient my content about the points of my competitors. I think that would be a nice way to improve myself.
Maybe when you have so many cases, the idea is to say, how can you start from what do you want to do? What are the use cases? Then AI will be able to do it. And that's really nice to see that it's evolving so fast. And yeah, you can have so many use cases to develop and benefit from AI, and not just do a small prompt, but really benefit for your business and be more efficient and more creative in the usage of AI.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's really a rabbit hole, and you can lose a lot of time by playing with AI. And I think it's always the question: or will I already gain time or quality if I do it with that?
Thanks, Corentin and Hubert. Another question we received is, do you think, and that's a big one, do you think the job of a copywriter is at risk, actually?
I start. Bad copywriters are average ones, likely and quickly, like I think. But the better ones, the ones that can really add creativity, connect to the audience, to the brand, I think no. Because honestly, I used a lot the API, and I did a lot of tests, and there was really a few times where I was really like, most of the time I'm happy with the results, but I was never amazed like I can be with some really great content for top copywriters. So I think it's not invalidates the work of copywriter. And I was giving the example of generate text on the product page. I will probably never let GPT work on my top product page or my top home page or anything like that, or just on specific part.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's I would say it's support. I think it gives ideas, inspiration, but a good copywriter will come with something extra, something that is new. That's something that will really pop in the mind of your audience. And so that's at the end, you are human first, and AI as your best sidekick, your best copilot to be to come with better ideas that you could imagine at first. So it links to your conclusion. No, let's not use it at our plain potential.
There is still one. Thanks. Yes. Yeah, sorry. There is a third question indeed from Geneviève asking how fast has been the learning curve for our team at Universem, and how long have we been busy about that? What resources would we advise for someone who wishes to improve its understanding rather than develop fear?
I think the 3 links we gave in the presentation are really helpful, especially the Google one and the ChatGPT one. the Google one is really more on how it works, and I think it's important to know how it works to know the limitation. And the GPT one is also really important to know how to use the prompt. I'm gonna be honest, I think it's most of the time basic intelligence, if I can say it like that, but you still have a few tricks to use. And there is also a few newsletters about AI that can be great to use. But to be honest, being involved a lot, even myself, I tend to be lost because there is news every day. And I think you have to also let the noise pass and just focus on, like Hubert said, your needs and what really do you want to do with AI? Because a lot of people are talking about it all the time, but they are talking about it. I'm not sure all the people talking about it on LinkedIn are really using it on a daily basis for their jobs. And I think it's where you really need to focus and, okay, can I automatize that to gain time, to be more efficient? If it's a yes, deep dive into it. If it's a I'm not sure, I don't think so.
Yes, so that's.
Thank you. Maybe a last question. Bradley is asking if we are happy with ideation for now, or if we are more impressed by the answer when we give data to the tool. So about ideation, I don't know if one of you has some answer about it.
I could reverse the question is, are you happy with ideation session that you do internally within your company? Often you have ideas coming. Some are great. Most of them are just average. So you can have one idea that comes out of it. But for now, from what we see, is the quality is not super high in terms of ideation. But I think it's a matter of time. It's a matter of a few months coming, so that the fine-tuning of the algorithm, also the technology behind it, it will be even better, so that it will come with better ideas. And I'm sure there are tools that will come to give you more ideas and that will use this or come with this specific use case to better use LLM or generative AI for your IDs. So that's coming, but not super great for now. It's a tool. Huh? It's a tool, not a magic stick.
No, and it's the data. If I could conclude with that, is that I think data was already critical for digital in the past, but with generative AI, I think it's pure gold. So if you have first-party data, you can use it to create great stuff, and I think that's where the difference lies, is using data that are unique to build something unique. Because if you use just ChatGPT, you will, like Hubert said, generate average things that are not unique at all.
Thank you. Wadley answered perfect. So I guess it was a good answer. Maybe Corentin, wait, let me.
Wanted to add a last point because it's I didn't mention it during the presentation, but it's a question I have often when I talk about AI with clients and so on, where they ask me, but what Google is gonna do with that? Are they gonna punish us to use AI? From what we know now, the test we did, there is no punition at all. I think what is important to keep in mind is that Google, their core business is to make users happy, because they come back, they click on ads, and it makes a lot of money to Google. Click on organic links, it's better. But let's think about it. And I think as long as the users are happy, they will be happy. So I don't see why they will punish AI. There are cases where there is a lot of traffic, but when you see that on LinkedIn, just also think what they did, because a lot of people are, like I said, they are just publishing the content directly without any review, without any analysis. I think as long as the website is well optimized, is known, is a real entity, and is working and is using AI, there is no issue at all. There are a few banks in the UK that are already using it for their content. So I think it's an issue, and it was important maybe to add it.
Thank you. I think that was pretty much it. We talked about 30 minutes and we're already at 47. So I guess it was good, and it was really nice to get some questions and to refine our presentation. So thank you all for attending and for your engagement about the questions, etc. So Oh, last, yeah, maybe we will answer the last one by comments because otherwise it will last too long. So thank you all, and I hope we can have you at our next webinars. Have a good day. Bye.